The sun was a fading bronze coin on the horizon, painting the flat fields of the frontier world in long, deep shadows. The farmer walked the dusty path back to his solitary homestead, the day's toil a pleasant ache in his shoulders. The peace of the evening was shattered by a sound like tearing metal and a ground-shaking thump from the copse of whisper pines that bordered his western field. He found the vessel half buried in the soil, steam hissing from its fractured hull. It was not a human design. Beside it, a figure lay prone, one arm bent at a worrying angle, its dark, chitinous hide slick with iridescent fluid. It was large, easily 7 feet tall if standing, with a proud crest-like structure on its head, now cracked. The farmer saw the intricate leather and metal harness, the sigil of a stylized star etched on a pauldron. This was no scavenger or common soldier. This was someone of importance. With a grunt, ignoring the potential danger, the farmer hauled the alien over his shoulders, its weight immense. He carried it not to his house, but to his barn. The house felt too personal, too exposed. The barn was a place of work, of mending. He cleared a space in the hay, laid the being down, and fetched his medkit. The fluids were not blood as he knew it, but the antiseptic spray and coagulant gauze seemed to slow the seepage. He splinted the arm with polymer rods and tape, cleaned the smaller lacerations, and then waited through the night, dozing in a chair with an old rifle across his knees just in case. Near dawn, the alien's eyes opened. They were multifaceted, deep amber, and held a sharp, intelligent light. It did not startle. It observed the crude bandages, the barn, the human holding vigil. It moved its good arm, touching the farmer's own forearm in a slow, deliberate gesture. Then its eyes closed again, this time in genuine rest. The farmer tended to his chores, leaving water and a mash of high-protein grains by the hay. When he returned at noon, the alien was sitting up. It pointed to the mash, then to itself, a question in the gesture. The farmer nodded. The alien ate with a slow dignity that confirmed the farmer's suspicion about its status. For 3 days, this silent routine continued. The farmer would provide food and check the wounds. The alien would offer that same slow touch, a gesture of thanks that transcended words. On the 4th morning, the barn was empty. The alien was gone, leaving only the impression in the hay and a neatly folded, stained gauze. The farmer felt a peculiar loss, then shrugged. It was over. Life on the frontier returned to its solitary rhythm. The very next day, a shadow fell over his field. This ship was different from the wreck. It was whole, polished, and descended with a hum that vibrated in the teeth. It settled lightly before his homestead. A ramp extended, and the alien chief emerged. Its arm was in a proper sling now, its crest repaired with a filigree of gold. It moved with an aura of absolute authority. Behind it, 5 figures descended. They were of the same species, but slighter, with smoother crests and elegant, long limbs. Their hides shimmered in subtle patterns of silver and gray. They were, by any human standard and likely their own, stunningly beautiful. They stood in a silent row, their amber eyes fixed ahead. The farmer stepped out onto his porch, wiping his hands on his pants. The chief approached. It placed a heavy, 3-fingered hand on its own chest, then pointed to the barn, then to the farmer. The meaning was clear. You helped me. Then it gestured to the 5 beings, and then sweepingly to the farmer's house and land. The farmer's brow furrowed. "I don't understand," he said, though he was beginning to, and a knot of discomfort tightened in his stomach. One of the beautiful aliens stepped forward. From a pouch at its side, it produced a small device. It spoke, its voice a melodic chime, and the device emitted synthesized speech. "The gift is given. Honor demands balance. A life for a life. These are offered for service. for progeny, for strength. The farmer stared. They were not just a thank you gift. They were being offered as wives, as bearers of children, as a biological enhancement to his homestead. It was a transaction, a settling of a life debt with the most valuable currency their culture possessed. He saw the expectation in the chief's eyes, a pride in the generosity of the offer. He saw the perfect stillness of the five, awaiting their new assignment. He felt a surge of something profound, a clash of galaxies in his simple front yard. This was wrong, not just morally, but practically. He was a man of the soil. He understood barter, trade, mutual aid. This was not that. This was a fundamental misreading of his act. His help was not an investment expecting a return. It was simply what one being did for another in trouble. He held up both hands, palms out. "No," he said firmly. "I cannot accept this." The chief's head tilted. The device in the attendant's hand chimed. "The gift is suitable. Highest quality. They are strong. They are clever. They will improve your line." "It's not about quality," the farmer said, struggling for simplicity. "You do not give people. You do not trade people. My help was free. It was a gift, too. A gift does not demand another gift. It just is." The alien chief was silent for a long time, its multifaceted eyes studying the human. The concept was alien, far more alien than their physiology. A gift with no expectation of reciprocation? An act of strength that demanded no strengthening of the line? It seemed like madness, a violation of cosmic order. Finally, the chief made a sharp gesture. The five beings returned to the ship. The farmer felt a wave of relief, thinking it was over. But the chief remained. It pointed to the farmer, then to itself, then to the two empty spots on the porch steps. It sat, slowly, with some difficulty due to its injury, and waited. Understanding dawned. The farmer sat beside it. And so began a new, more difficult form of communication. The farmer pointed to the sky. "Sun." The chief produced a low, warm hum. The farmer pointed to the earth. "Dirt." A different, softer click. They traded words for an hour, building a pitifully basic lexicon. The chief pointed to the barn, then to its own injured arm, then to the farmer. It was a question. The farmer thought. He pointed to a wounded mock hare he had once nursed by the fence. He pointed to a failing crop he had saved with careful irrigation. He pointed to his own heart, a universal gesture. "Because it was hurting. Because I could." The chief absorbed this. It then pointed to the five in the ship, then to itself, then made a sweeping gesture of possession. It then pointed to the farmer and made a questioning gesture. "They are not yours to give," the farmer said, slowly. "They are theirs." He pointed to the ship, then made a walking motion with his fingers away from the chief, then pointed back to the chief, and shook his head. Autonomy, self-ownership. The chief sat in profound stillness. The societal implications were tectonic. After a long while, it made a sound that was not a word, but a sigh of shifting understanding. It touched its own chest, then the farmer's arm, the original gesture of thanks, but now imbued with a deeper resonance. The chief stood. It issued a command. The five emerged again, but this time they carried not themselves as offering, but objects from the ship. A compact fusion power cell, a hydro-neutralizer for the well, a crate of complex soil enhancers. Real, tangible gifts that could transform the farm, but did not impose upon its master's soul. The farmer smiled. This he could accept. He nodded his thanks. The chief returned the nod, a gesture learned just now. As the ship prepared to leave, the chief paused at the ramp. It looked back at the farmer, standing alone before his homestead, framed by the vastness of his field and the setting sun. It saw not a backward primitive, but a being operating on a principle of such quiet, unyielding strength that it had dismantled an ancient tradition in an afternoon. The human strength was not in taking, but in choosing not to take. His wealth was not in what he possessed, but in the integrity of his actions. The ship ascended into the twilight. In his command chamber, the chief contemplated the report he would file. It would not speak of a successful debt settlement or a new genetic alliance. It would describe a first contact protocol of the highest order and a warning to all future vessels. It would state that this sector, this world, was under the protection of a seemingly simple farmer, whose definition of strength had redefined their own. He had not taken the gift offered, and in that refusal, he had given them something far greater, a new way to see the universe. On the ground, the farmer hauled the fusion cell into his barn. He felt the weight of it, a practical, useful weight. He looked at the empty spot in the hay. He had asked for nothing, and in the end had received more than he could have imagined, and kept his world exactly as he liked it. That, he thought as he closed the barn doors against the night, was a good day's work.